Welcome to day one of week 10 of split one of the 2020 OPL. And my goodness, if my kids were not awake already, they are now. I am your host, Nick Boy Richardson, coming to you live from Casa del Nick Boy. And I am joined by my favorite homebound co-hosts, Spawn, Skimmy, and Rusty. And we have to start with Rusty, who appears to have broken all international lockdown rules and moved to Japan.
I've also managed to gain more pixels in the process of 1 week, so I apologize if you hear some nonsense coming out of me. But yeah, I've got a nice zen background going on now. What do you think?
This is a very exciting development. I mean, it's good to see that instead of spending the money on enough equipment for everybody to be able to stream properly from home, we've spent it mainly on just on Japanese furniture for you.
I'm good with it.
You're good with it.
He no longer wishes to showcase his bed anymore. That's a bit of a shame, isn't it, Nick?
That is a shame. Is the bed hiding behind that, or have we rearranged the whole room?
No, the bed's still definitely there. It's just a nice block. Isn't it weird to see a bed of someone who's casting in what is meant to be a professional league? Like, I think that's weird.
I don't think so. I think me and Nick are definitely on point here.
No,
that's
I
weird.
think it is very weird. No one sleeps in Nick's bed. I want to make that abundantly clear. That is a guest bedroom, and like it's one of those fancy guest bedrooms where you say, this is the guest room. But really, when people come over, we have another 6 rooms that they can sleep in before they use the showroom bedroom.
We do have little chocolates that we put on the pillows when we have people over. So if you come over, you can have a chocolate.
I cannot wait.
Does that make Spawn happy? I feel like that's how I make Spawn happy, right? Spawn, are you happy?
I think I'm happy. Can you guys not hear me at all? I mean, I feel happy, but maybe I'm not. I feel like I'm echoing a little bit, so I'm trying to figure out, like, on my paddle, what stops the echoes, but I haven't figured that out yet.
No, you're fine, bro. You're fine. Welcome, everybody. And Skimmy, how are you doing? You and I have dressed the same. We didn't coordinate on that at all.
I mean, it's our nature, isn't it, Nick, really? You know, we dress the same, we do the same hairstyle, we have the same bed backgrounds. Essentially, we're two, fancy businessmen just hanging out.
I'm not happy with any of this. Fancy businessmen.
Fancy business.
What can I say, mate? You're owning IKEA, I'm probably owning Walmart or something at this stage, mate. We're just doing this as a side gig, during the lockdown.
That is true. We hope you guys are enjoying your lockdown as well. We're going to be here for another 6 games of League of Legends all evening for you as we get towards the pointiest of the pointy ends of this split, and things are getting very exciting. Let's take a look at the standings as they stand right now, because there are a lot of implications over the next 12 games this weekend to be heading into the final playoffs. So we've got Chiefs still top the table and number 1. Legacy tied with them now. Dial's in at 3. It's then Order and Pentanet for 4 and 5. Avant tied with Pentanet at 5, along with Gravitas. And finally, Mammoth down the bottom. I think their hopes and dreams of a gauntlet-style run are probably well and truly done, but there is a lot to play for in the middle and the top, isn't there, Rusty?
Well, yeah. Sorry, you lagged. Did you say my name?
I did. I just said, isn't it interesting how many people we gotta? There's so much. I was just filling time, man. I'm just filling time. It's all getting full. That's all I'm trying to say. Come on, give me something.
You're right, Nick. There is top 3 teams that are locked in. Chiefs, Direwolves, Legacy, of course, seating still up for grabs there, and then Order can fall out. They only have to win 1 game to secure to go up to 7, and then the last bit of the mess is going to be the Gravitas Pentanet, as well as the Avant Gaming kind of mishmash that's happening there. Although a couple of the teams have made some roster changes in the final week of the OPL. It wouldn't be the OPL with a little bit of Clown Fiesta roster changes around. So I'm interested to see how that impacts some of these teams going into the final week.
Absolutely. Rusty, maybe if you just fold down the screen, it might be interfering with the Wi-Fi. All that paper might just be blocking the signal. Let's take a look at the schedule for today. We've got 6 games coming at you. We know what you want. There's nothing else to watch. It's about time you just watch the OPL. Let's get up that schedule. Let's get that schedule up. Let's get that schedule right up. Thank you very much. Game number 1, Mammoth versus Avant. It's then Gravitas versus Legacy for game 2. Pentanet.gg taking on Order for game 3. Direwolves versus the Chiefs for game 4. Legacy and Pentanet.gg making a return for game 5. And then Avant and Direwolves rounding out the evening. Avant playing twice. Avant playing with quite the shook up roster, Spawn.
Yeah, they are. They're going to be playing with Appy, their former support, as their top laner. Gunkrab, their former starting AD carry, as their support. Violet, their substitute AD carry, is now their starting AD carry. And Dragku has apparently been evicted from the Big Brother house. Now, how has this happened in the final week? I don't know. So I thought I would throw over to the scoop to our man Rusty, who coordinated the last falling out of the Avant Gaming roster that was going to make playoffs.
I don't know, man. I'm not a part of this, AV. What a question. I mean, I can comment on the changes. I can't say why because I haven't got the slightest idea. And I think that's a problem because not having a slight idea is probably a big cause for concern that they've done it in week 10.
I mean,
Yeah, it is.
I think they would be the favourite. They would have been the favourite to make the playoff run, to be honest. Like, Gravitas kind of were playing with nothing to lose last weekend, if we're being serious. And now there is something to obviously be up for grabs, so I would have expected them to be a little bit more nervous. I thought Avant were in the best form, and I thought Pentanet looked disastrously bad. So now with Avant Gaming swapping their lineup so much, like, I put them in the mess that is Pentanet.gg, and maybe Parbu and Prayless just laugh their way straight to the bank with a gauntlet run here.
I mean, things must have been pretty dire for a change this big, this late in the split. But maybe it's just, maybe what we don't know is that the OPL next split will be implementing some sort of draft structure where the team that comes last gets a first pick of new players coming in. So maybe that's happening. Probably not. That feels like something they would have told us beforehand. But of course, the new look Avant are coming up against Mammoth. Skimmy. What is the mindset of a team like Mammoth coming into this point in the split where they're right at the bottom of the table? Are they just looking to eke out wins for practice at this point?
I think so. I think a lot of people, when they were looking at predictions coming into Split 1, were saying that, Mammoth would be one of the weakest teams compared to, the competition against them. So I think they've definitely been able to pick up some dubs here and there, taking victories against Pentanet and Avant. So I think really you're playing for pride, you're playing for development, you're playing for the fact that, hey, you're playing video games, getting paid to do so, and it's pretty cool in a time like this, right? So there's nothing worse than just getting pub stomped and having regrets and obviously being stuck at home all day. So you want to get at least a dub or at least something for yourselves to smile about to keep you going coming into the next split.
Absolutely. And we've got lots for you to smile about as well over the course of the broadcast. One of the things we want to do, we loved doing it last week. You guys responded really well. We're going to do another 5-stack. So that is where we pick the 5 champions from League of Legends who fit a criteria. We want to know what criteria you want us to pick from. Last week, it was the 5 champions you would most want to be in lockdown with and the 5 champions you most wouldn't want to be in lockdown with. Suggest a new topic in the chat or at NickBoy on Twitter, at NickBoy. I was about to spell it, and I just said it again. So I just said at NickBoy twice. So just go to NickBoy, N-I-C-H-B-O-Y. Put it there. Put it in the chat. Suggest a 5-stack, and we will go through that later on in the show. I think we're about ready to get into game number 1. I haven't heard otherwise. When I haven't heard otherwise, generally that's a good sign. So I'm just going to fill this amount of time to let the production team jump in and say, no, we're not ready, but they haven't said anything. I'm hearing nothing. All I'm hearing is the sweet dulcet tones of Mammoth versus Avant. It's time to get into game number 1. It is Mammoth versus Avant. It is game number 1 of tonight, and it is coming up with the Macca's Champ Select. Oh!
Feeling the heat? Grab a pineapple or pineberry frozen Fanta mix at Macca's. With 36 flavours, it's the largest range in Australia. Grab one for only $1. A little goes a long way at Macca's.
Well, Rusty, let's crack on in game number 1. It's Mammoth taking on Avant. You're looking fantastic with the backdrop. Obviously, so much praise from chat already about how good the production value is in that regard. But, let's get things kicked off with this one here. As I mentioned before, Mammoth definitely looking for a sense of pride. Avant obviously shaking things up, still have that run to making the playoffs. But it's going to be a lot harder than it was before.
Yeah, definitely. And just before I get started, Skibby, if I am in any way lagging, I apologize. It's going to be one of those days, I suspect. So that's also for the viewers. I apologize if I'm just randomly cutting out. Just let me know if I am, and we'll fix it. Towards this game, we spoke about the roster changes. I think it's a very interesting place to start the conversation once again. Because for Mammoth, yes, they can play the blue shell. They can have a good time doing it. And that's usually when the worst team of a league, statistically, is the most dangerous. And then you compare that to AV with all the roster swaps. I would say that is the biggest risk that you could possibly take in the 10th week of a league where you've been consistent for 9 of it. And so watching those two collide is a big question mark.
I think what I'm interested for is sort of the mentality that Mammoth come into this one with, right, in terms of their picks. Are we still looking at creating new strategies, creating new things for them to work on, right? I feel like there's a psychological element of assessment, right? What is their mindset going into the second split? Are they looking just to sort of play comforts today, have a bit of fun, and go, look, our chances of making enough playoff run is gone, but, let's enjoy what this occasion presents to us? Or, hey, look, should we start to just keep adding these new ideas to the board, practice it on the stage, and see if we can translate those scrim performances?
I think it's all about when you are confirmed to be missing playoffs, you're always looking for development things. So you could either end the split by having fun, which that doesn't sound like development, but it is. You're actually developing your team relationships. So you just have fun together as a team, take that experience back, and then hit the preseason running. The alternative to that is take it very, very seriously, which a lot of places tend to do that. Depends on the team, depends on the players. And Mammoth could be one of those teams, just from what we've seen of them in the past. It's been I want to say a gradual improvement from them, and regardless of the pace, it has been a gradual improvement. I'd expect to see them take it pretty seriously and try and take AV down.
Yeah, absolutely. I think really what I'm interested for is also on the end of Avant, right? We've always asked for Violet to come in, trying to understand the decision-making from Coach Max on their side as to when they, substitute Violet in for Gunkrab's position. I think it's going to be quite interesting to sort of see with 2 ADCs playing in that bot lane, the dynamic, if it's going to be a lot more aggressive, if it's going to be a lot more sort of lane-orientated of let's just chill, let's just get out of this laning phase, get a few crucial items online, and then we can look to do things. Because we've harped on this narrative that all day Avant are about aggression. They want to just sort of force fights. They draft early. They draft these wombo combos with the likes of a J4 and a Rumble. And whether or not this new identity in the bot lane changes that anymore.
You don't really know what Gunkrab's going to provide as a support.
No.
What we know about Violet is that he is a mechanical ADC. He is a young player who definitely knows how to click his buttons properly. And the things that he tends to miss would be the things that come with experience. And AV have been giving him gradual experience. But this is thrown the most into the deep end because your support is the starting ADC. So you've actually just got so many points to prove, right, in terms of performance.
Yeah. Almost like saying, hey, we're going to give you the spot in a situation where we could still make playoffs. No pressure, by the way. Crack on in and see what you can achieve. Let's kick it off with the very first draft of Super Week. It is Week 10, obviously, so the final one of the regular season. Mammoth taking on Avant, with Mammoth having first pick priority already, taking away the oppressive nature of that Yuumi.
Yeah, Yuumi taken off the board. Senna's still available, though. So if there was ever another support champion remaining that you would be looking towards, I think it would be that, given what we have so far. Of course, what we do know is that tanks are still a big deal.
Yeah.
Regardless of the weeks that have gone through. And it's no surprise to see the Ornn locked in, especially with the set, the Wukong, already taken away. But Skimmy, that does mean that things like Renekton are still available for the other side. It's just, does Appy play it?
Well, that's it. Kwaku, ever since, the very first few weeks, right, was this massive Ornn-favoured player, always locking it in, then started to change it a little bit more to showing those flex picks, those picks that he's definitely showcased a lot of strength on, like the Fiora, as well as that one trick in the Poppy. And Renekton has started to come in a little bit more recently too. We talked about it in last week as to how strong it is with Blade of the Ruined King, but Mammoth, going back to their old style, sticking with that first pick in the Ornn. Fun game, we're going to switch that up completely and say, look, we just want great engage. We want the ability to lock you down with this AoE CC. Varus and Sejuani catering to that exceptionally.
Yeah, they keep a tank in the role, even though it isn't going to be straight into the top lane tanks just yet. It makes me think, when it comes to AV and drafting, it's entirely possible that they play like a Karma top lane or, something a little bit different that is just within the wheelhouse of Appy's champions. So
that's something that I think we'll have to look at. They may go for a third rotation in that role. But right now we're looking at what Mammoth have been locking in for themselves, and pretty stock standard from them so far. Pretty standard aggression as well. Hit 3 items, hit level 13 and start to peak in terms of power and just be team fighting so far.
I think, yeah, you're looking at what Mammoth have right now, and it's incredibly strong, right? You know, you've got arguably the strongest bot laner, and then you've got a great synergy between what could happen when the Jarvan can assist those lanes. So you've already got some reliable engage, a very much point-and-click style so far. Avant Gaming will obviously have that turnaround like we mentioned before. They're going to lock in with the Aurelia. So definitely, you know, you've got that ability to sort of hide your picks between the Ornn and that Aurelia still. And we're going to see now exactly where those bans go towards. With Avant going to open up with the Renekton. So still considering perhaps Lived is looking for a mid-Ornn.
Yeah, the Renekton being a strong pick is possible, so it's good that they did ban that one away. But the Sejuani Aurelia is also, it's a very strong combo, being, you know, an auto-attack reliant mid lane or top lane champion with the Sejuani. Just hitting that Sej passive is very easy to do. Renekton was the other choice for AV, so they don't pick it, they ban it away. That seems fair. And now Mammoth is saying you can't have the rest of that comp that's very strong.
Yeah, the Brom would have been disastrous, right? With concussive blows coming online, it just makes it so easy without being so reliant on the ultimates to get that CC train online, right? So I like that ban a lot, very heads-up play from them. They're going to respond with a Poppy ban too. We talked about it briefly as to how prevalent Kwaku has been on it, so proficient on that pick. Not going to be able to have that one today, and Tarek as the final pick to deny any tanky support, and obviously with that lane dominance it can provide.
Yeah, it's funny, Kwaku's picked Poppy twice in this split and he's lost twice with it, but it definitely is still one of the champions it is the most comfortable with. And I think the bigger thing is that it screams Poppy into Aurelia as a harder counter than any other matchup that you would have seen in the split so far if they were to pick that matchup. And that actually doesn't tell me that it's going to be a top lane Aurelia either. Because we've also seen Kwaku last week play the Poppy mid lane into a specific matchup. I think it was the Aatrox, to try and keep the lane setups as they were. Yeah, I mean, the Mammoth could be swapping lanes if that was the case, and that also means that the Ornn could be in the hands of a Liv.
Yeah, we've seen stranger things happen, and we're going to see now exactly how these lanes all get finalized out. Now we know that Fresh and Varus is that bottom lane, so plenty of CC, the ability obviously to hit level 2 first and try and potentially get an all-in and try and get that ball rolling to favor Avant for this aggression that they look for pre-15. Morgana is going to be response there. Black Shield will come in clutch to deny a lot of that CC chain. And Silas, as the 5th and final flexing pick, can have some fantastic initiation and the ability to try and turn around what Avant are bringing to the table.
Yes, that goes against Aurelia, definitely a skill matchup. The Morgana pick, however, is the most curious one to me. You see the Thresh come through, you pick for a matchup that's very hard to deal with. Morgana also now very good into the Varus ultimate, into the Sejuani ultimate, and depending on that last pick now that it's a Victor, not as good into that. So AV with their last champion of choice will give presumably Chaz the Victor, unless RP's going to play that one top lane. We'll find out, as it is an Ornn matchup regardless.
Yeah, going to be Chaz with the Victor there. What's interesting to me, Rusty, is no Senna.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, Senna's usually someone coupled with a tank champion, especially for the side of AV. They've got 2 AD carry players, so they could have considered the Senna, especially as the support role. But nonetheless, they'll go for the Thresh. And so we have to very closely track how Gunkrab goes, playing this support champion that is a support main support champion in his new role once again. And he does move around roles a little bit. We saw it last year.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how that one comes to life. But, you know, I suppose if we're looking at ease of execution, is there a composition that you favor? I mean, we look at the likes of the hard initiate that Mammoth will be able to bring to the table. The protection it can also allow for the Philios to get to work. The response being really from Mammoth is a lot of engage, a lot of CC, a lot of overlapping to make things work. And I suppose the Black Shield has to be so well timed to ensure that it is used on the right target at the right time to sort of initiate a domino effect of, like, you know, this player is not locked in place, cleanse isn't a necessity, we've got this early game denial to, you know, try and get ourselves in a situation where we're not falling too far behind.
It is always easier to be the Mammoth composition, I think, in these games, just because of the ease of execution of being a bunch of tanks and being a team fight style composition. But the thing is, AV's comp is still very team fight focused and oriented. And I think that the difference is their individual execution has to still be incredibly high to match that of their opponents. Like a Morgana binding is very different to a Thresh hook connecting. Victor compared to Silas, one has to ram their head in a little bit more, and Aurelia is a bunch of skill shots compared to what is an Ornn ultimate going in and just hitting everybody. So I think ease of execution belongs to Mammoth, which is probably the way you would want that to be in this matchup.
Well, let's crack on with it. It's the very first game of week number 10. It's another super week, so that's 6 games today and 6 tomorrow. Mammoth will have a chance of making it into playoffs, but Avant are tied at the moment with Pentanet as well as, the rest of the boys in that situation. We've got Pentanet, and it's eluding me for a second there, Rusty. Pentanet and Gravitas. I don't know why that sprung to mind. But no, both are locked in between 5th, 6th and 7th right now, all with a chance of making it through the playoffs, all sitting at 6 and 12 on that track record. So best of 1 today, and obviously all be looking forward to try making it into next week when the best of 5s take place.
Yeah, and all with 3 games to play, so plenty of opportunities to strut their stuff and see exactly what it is they're able to get done. Now we are 1 minute, 40 seconds into this one. Red buff is about to be taken down by Bass as he started on the red side of the rift. Sejuani has actually matched sides of the rift, starting with the blue and a leash. And this is going to be an interesting start to the lane because they're pathing towards topside from the early get-go. And Jarvan ganks can be pretty potent early on, but if a Sejuani is ever there, if they path a similar direction and they're able to track and get a 2v2, Sejuani Aurelia is one of the most dangerous combos that you have seen just because of the Sejuani passive.
Absolutely. I can imagine the fact that you're jumping on in and you've got to be pretty sure about your conviction on that gank, otherwise you are locked in place of all the perma slows that can take place from that one. It's going to be Appy that finds himself with level 2 advantage first of all, as they look to leave the lane in an eager balance. But as you say, both junglers pathing up to the top side. Slight advantage so far for Bass, but we'll see exactly if they do decide to go for that level 2, level 3 gank, or if they look for a full jungle clear.
Yeah, and they have either choice. Realistically, where do they want to go? What do they want to do? So far, it's just going to be farming. You can see kind of off the way that Bass did path. He was just going for the greedy clear, take as many camps as he can. Java, one of those champions that even fresh off a reset, going to be a highly capable ganker. And Sejuani actually recently got some touch-ups, a bit faster attack speed, which doesn't seem like a significant thing for a tank, but when you're so reliant on stunning the jungle camps that you're taking down, that's actually a pretty decent buff. So the clear health and speed went up a little bit there for what is now Lisa on the champion. And so we'll have to see how he chooses to path this one out as well.
You have to see exactly, because Lisa's being one of these junglers that likes the ideas of Jarvan's, Lee Sin's, or Elisa, so he likes to go for the early game aggression. We've seen some games where he's been quite MIA, but after last week, especially when we were rather critical of his performance, he's could have turned it around in day number 2 and was here, there, and everywhere. So on a tank jungler, slightly different to what he's used to, but I'm sure nonetheless the presence will be there, and he's going to be on point right now because Bass is considering a gank onto Chaz in the mid lane. Liv will find it engaged to start off with. The trap goes down on the floor, stunning him in place. It's going to buy time for Lisa to turn around. The wall goes down, spotting both members in place. The flag and drag will take place regardless, and a TP is going to come out as a response. Bash jumps in, going to force at that flash because of the combat that you talked about. CC is there, locked in place with the stun. First blood is so damn close, but the turnaround, Liv's had enough. He picks up a double kill, and well, Bass acted as the ultimate bait.
For just a second there, you're like, oh, AV are doing some good things. They've got the early teleport out from Appy, and then suddenly Liv just rocks up and gets the double tower damage. They're going to fight again, but it's still going to be Liv that comes out on top in these trades. This is a pretty bad start for AV.
That was insane. You're looking at the situation thinking that, they're in so much trouble, right? Between the likes of the Aurelia and the Sejuani jumping in there. Just the amount of damage that it could output. And the fact is that, they chilled so much onto Bass. The turnaround comes in, and Liv takes that. 2 kills to his name already. He's been such a fantastic, member of this roster in recent weeks. And now with Red Buff 2, makes his ability to hit level 6 and roam that much stronger now.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, Liv, Bass, and Quaker are 3 members that have stepped up pretty big in recent weeks and started to have a better showing for themselves. Bass has always been actually one of the I would say one of the better starters of the whole team, who's just been able to really rally around the rest of his squad a bit better as weeks have progressed. So it's nice to see once again a 2-0 start here for Liv on Silas. He's gotten through pretty hard part of the lane. Being against a ranged champion now, he's accelerated, so in a good spot considering.
Yeah, going to rock back to lane with now that Dark Seal and the completed gun. So a lot of extra damage now in those burst exchanges. Going to make it a little bit harder for Chaz, who's opted for the double Doran's Ring start. Give him, say, that defensive capability. A little bit easier to CS from afar. He's obviously, with that ranged advantage, finding a small grace in that at the moment. But I suppose the real winner of that one is Kwaku. Didn't respond to that lane, and he's given himself a healthy CS lead.
Yeah, he's happy with the way this is going. In fact, I would say, all of Mammoth pretty happy with the way this one is going. A quick check-in with the bottom lane, which is really the most surprising part of this with the roster swaps to everything that's happened from AV. So far, so good, you would have to say. Being able to keep up in CS with the Aphelios Morgana using a lot of the Thresher's strengths. Seems like so far so good for them down there when you give them the very early stress test.
Let's see how things go in this bottom lane right now. Mammoth will have the priority to allow Arctic to go for some deep vision. They do see that blue buff will be up very shortly, and Bass is looking for that invade, knowing that his bot lane is there in waiting. Vision will go down. There's already a control ward in that tri-brush. The invade attempt will take place. Mbova just left in the lane to CS away. He's going to keep Violet and Gunkrab stuck underneath that tower. The shield lantern is going to go out to reveal. But Mammoth are just collapsing on this one fantastically. They're going to steal away the blue, and they just accelerate themselves that much more.
Yeah, just using priority to continue and get further advantages. A ward is going to see this Drake being started, but it's very clear that they're not going to be able to contest this one. Sejuani on the opposite side of the map looking for a blue buff steal, and the recall coming out there pretty early from Chaz. And while Bass is going to get low, it doesn't actually mean too much because the rest of the team could have been there first to rotate if anyone went missing from the side of AV. And once again, so far so good from the side of Mammoth. Taking it seriously when you asked earlier, how do you think they'll play this one out? Well, it's very clear that they're in it to win it.
They sure are. And Lisa is going to be forced to go and say, well, if we do sacrifice the Dragon, I don't want to fall too far behind in these jungle clears. I am going to pick up a blue buff of my own. I'm going to get myself a Scuttle as well to get some important vision on that Rift Herald spawning in 5 seconds. So he's going to go for a clamp here to get himself back into the game slightly. He's a little bit far behind in terms of the jungle items, with Bass now completing that one. Going to have to see if there is a lane swap, if there's a rotation at all to try and get themselves a trade of, well, you pick up the dragon, you're working towards that soul point, but we're going to go for gold and XP.
Yeah, now even a map flip is something that's possible here. As with only Herald available on the map, the objectives that exist halve. You'd look at AV as the team that could potentially be doing that right now. They're playing towards the top side of the map and really just waiting to see what's next.
Well, Appy's doing a good job so far in this top lane. He's definitely finding himself a strong lead. We were talking about it only moments before how Kwaku was finding a CS advantage based on the fact that Appy roamed, but he's come back to this lane and just accelerated it so much more. 20 CS up now. Yes, there's going to be a big wave to crash into this tower, and Kwaku will make up a fair chunk of that if he can look to get those last hits. But, this is a strong start for a support player now playing the top lane.
I'll be honest with you, Skimmy, I'm going to need you to keep talking for a little bit. I cannot see my screen.
Oh, that's beautiful, mate.
So just bear with me.
Close your eyes and imagine what you are seeing on the screen right now. But for you, the viewers at home, I can still see, which is fantastic. It's not pre-recorded. I see you guys talking about that in chat. This is happening right here, right now, on the day. Mammoth taking on Avant. Liv's obviously still with that 2-0 lead, but Chaz is making himself up a good name for it. He's getting himself back in with that CS lead, keeping it up by about 10 himself. Protobell is now complete here, so a lot of mobility to make sure that those skills land. The chain initiate is on point, and that lane swap will now take place with both top laners going to the bottom side of the map, and the duo now looking to try and contest out that Rift Herald. How are we looking there, Rusty?
All right. I'm back. We're good. Yep, Rift Herald definitely the map flip location. So even though I couldn't see my screen, I was correct in at least that prediction. So no surprises really so far in a back row sense. Just waiting for what is still Mammoth with pretty much outright control. Again, it's a lot of priority in middle lane that is resulting in a lot of these advantages and strengths that they're starting to find for themselves. Bats even starting that Herald, but he's going to take a second to sweep the river first. Perhaps was worried that the Victor might find him. They may not have seen that he was resetting. But even at this point, major item spikes starting to be completed for Liv in particular, now that he is 2-0 on that Silas. And still going to have a lot of priority to be able to do this once again.
They absolutely are. And this is a great start for Mammoth. Cloud Drake online already. Going to pick yourself up a Rift Herald as well, unless any contest takes place. But with Silas this strong right now, being a looming threat running around this map, making it very hard for Avant to push into that one. They are looking for engagements elsewhere, and you can see on that mini-map right now, it's going to be a three-man collapse onto bottom side to try and bully out Quake. It's been a narrative for such a long time right now. Always will be relevant as the Ornn, as he looks to try and disengage out. He's going to find himself dodging 3 crucial CCs from those members. Flash is going to be burnt to chase him on down. That's a lot burnt to ensure that they try and get anything in this lane. Mammoth will find so much more, getting a tower for free.
Yeah, what cost, Skimmy? At what cost? It took so long for them to take Kweku down that they lose a turret. They'll definitely get a second charge off on that Herald as well if they wanted to. And I mean, honestly, Mammoth, they could have continued to have 3 people pushing up there and threatened the inner turret and maybe even gone for more in that trade, but they'll choose to back away. They'll play the safer option here. Now, Shelly will still get a charge off on that turret, so half health taken off the top lane inner of AV. You have to look at what the trade will realistically be on the opposite side of the map, as they don't even get further plates, Skimmy. It's still a 2-plate turret, and that is just a massive advantage. Once again, going Mammoth's way, but they're still somehow only 600 gold ahead.
It hurts, right? And yeah, absolutely. The gold difference doesn't really showcase exactly what we just saw there with, Avant burning double summoners, all their ultimates, everything to try and catch out Quaku, and unable to actually pick up that turret. That Rift Herald, not only taking down that first one you see on your screen there, but doing a second headbutt onto another turret too. So really making that lane long and making it a threat to always contest with that solo lane push that I'm sure Quaku will be sticking himself towards. Ocean Drake will now be up. And Avant need to try and get some establishment on this map.
And they're scary in a long lane, Skimmy. You've got an Ornn, Jarvan, Silas trio. Definitely going to be hard to deal with in a long lane if you're one of the side laners clearing. It's a Victor, potentially, as well as an Aurelia. One of those champions is a little bit more capable than the other at getting away, especially because Chaz has a flash if you compared the two. And you already saw how long it took for multiple members of AV to go for Quaku in a side lane and try and threaten him. That gets harder as time goes on. And you really do find yourself in this position hard-pressed to think strategically if you're AV what that next big thing is that you want. I think with the Drake up, it's currently obvious. With blue buff on Chaz, they currently have a point of strength. But I think they really do need to make something done, get something done rather, in this moment. Maybe even ideally in a 4v4. If Appy can keep Quaku up there, I think they'll be better off.
Well, Mammoth have been doing a fantastic job of utilising their priority. You're just seeing Bass always the first one to the objective, always the first one to clear out the vision, and it's always both Gungrab and Violet picking up the pieces to try and get themselves into this one. As you highlight before, both top laners do have their teleports online. If a engagement were to take place, if we were to see that first sign of a 5-man engagement. But Bass, like before, will start things off. They've got the engagement potential there. And Lisa almost looking like he's resigned again by going for a second invade on the enemy blue buff.
Yeah, they're playing very risk-averse at the moment. I mean, there are still some positives to consider within that. We're 14 minutes into the game. Violet has 153 CS at the moment, so he's still farming incredibly well. Both solo laners, respectively, 130 or 140 now for Chaz and 130 for Appy. Like, they're with the clock in terms of gold income. They only really gave away the 2 kills in the first turret in top lane. So far, they're looking to just farm themselves up to get those item spikes. And we just have to wait for that moment, because 2 Drakes given away is okay. It's tolerable if you're going to outscale. This is something the Legacy have said strategically that it's okay to do. But I don't look at the comps and say they purely outscale their opponents. I think there is risk in this. And the risk is that they're giving an Infernal Soul over to Mammoth.
That's going to be the constant worry in the back of their head, right? And whilst they're finding themselves with lane dominance, that is making that gold difference pretty much negligible. You mentioned it before that Mammoth were up by about 600 gold, but now it is Avant in the driving seat despite losing turrets. and losing kills. They are doing a fantastic job of winning their individual matchups. We are going to see now in Boma even the score out in that bottom lane. He's going to find himself the first completed item of an Infinity Edge, matching that of Violet's completed Blade of the Ruined King. We're going to see the top laners once again rotate through. We're going to see what appears to be now the starts, Rusty, of a 1-3-1 emerge.
Yeah, having the double teleport comp, I think this is one of the ways, I guess you would say one of the keys of AV's potential for success in this game. You know, when you are playing some of the lower ranked teams, 1-3-1s are a little bit easier to execute if you have a dependable 3 in the middle lane and your solo laners can win their matchup. So Blade of the Ruined King, Aurelia, I mean, definitely going to be able to handle whoever she goes against as long as RP's comfortable on the champion, which is, you know, one of those question marks that you'll always have. And then a Victor, especially if he has vision control, and so like if there is a 1-3-1 and he's the strong side where his team's placing vision for him, can always get one hits on his opponents just utilizing that vision control. So if they're able to set this up appropriately, AV will actually be in a pretty decent position in this game to try and build themselves up a goal difference.
We'll see how that equates, because the next Rift Herald will be up in just under a minute right now. And you can see some of the damage that is taking place here with Chaz actually responding to match that solo lane threat. Doing so much damage from afar. Salt boost completed right now. The Ornal is going to come on out to try and start things off with Liv looking for the engage. Chains won't connect. He flashes the knock into the wall. Bass is going to look for the engage attempt himself. Flag, drag, Cataclysm to follow. He's going to go for the stopwatch to buy himself some time as Thunder and Lightning comes down onto the Rift. Liv is looking for it. The Lantern on out. Disengage takes place. Rift Herald up in 15.
It's only one kill in the end, but it's still the correct move from AV map position-wise. It's just that Mammoth were able to get the jump on them from a teleport out of Liv, then Baz being in the area. It's still actually going to be, if they wanted it to be, the top lane out of Tyro, but Appy feels in danger and he's going to recall in the furthest position away, which means that Mammoth will just do the Herald. So it was a trade. It was a trade that Mammoth gets successfully, and then AV take once again the risk-averse option here, and they'll say, you can just have the next objective, it's fine. But there's only so many times that you're going to be able to do that once, Skibby, before the game starts to get nearly impossible to bring back.
Well, I start to worry, right? You know, we've seen so many times the Philios be this disgusting mid to late game threat where he's got, what, 2 to 3 items complete, and you just feel like, what do I do? You know, if he's got the ideal weapons online, I'm talking like usually the sniper and the chakrams, you feel pretty helpless. The amount of damage that comes from afar with little to no response, it feels like a Zoe ADC. So I'm wondering how they decide to get themselves, you know, set up for success. Next minute will be the first of subsequent Infernal Drakes. Obviously, Rift Herald completed and acquired by Bass. Be interesting to see how they decide to utilize it.
Yeah, it's a weird game for me. I keep speaking in stronger words than I think are even necessary. You know, like not being able to bring it back or like a too difficult a position, because I keep looking at the gold after I say these statements and I'm like, that's even. Like, this is still even. So there is still so much opportunity here for both teams to make their plays. Like, the first thing is that Quaku's just decided to finish off his Sunfire cape. And he's constantly been matched up against Chaz, the magic damage dealer of the team in the 1-3-1 split push. So the fact that he's finished that Sunfire off means that if Mammoth have the wrong lane assignments or AV can force the correct ones, then suddenly they're actually a lot more powerful than even the scoreboard reflects.
We'll see how they decide to try and match lanes, as Quaku is going to go to the top lane again, always trying to find that Aurelia, although the Aurelia will, as you say, do a lot of damage with that Blade of the Ruined King online, make it sure that, you know, the deceptively strong nature of the brittle procs won't override what the Aurelia can bring to the table. Now, Infernal Soul, or Infernal Drake, I should say, is online, and 2 members of Avant were topside again, looking to try and collapse upon Quaku, but you know, this is going to be the third Drake that goes along and into the pockets of Mammoth, and you start to really wonder, when is the moment that Avant pull the pin and say, now we fight?
Yeah, well, if it's not this Drake, which it very clearly isn't, it has to be the next one. I mean, you don't want to give an Infernal Soul over. If you can help it, that Varus ultimate that was stolen there by Silas is obviously going to go wide. And there's still the Herald to be placed by Bass. So there's 2 options here for AV, maybe 3 as we're cresting over the 20-minute mark. You've got your Dragon Soul, you've got the Baron, and then you've got the Herald play that will come out somehow from Mammoth. If they choose to group for that play, then maybe AV will pick that point and draw that line in the sand and say, this is what we're connecting for, this is what we're fighting for if you want to push with it. But yeah, once again, they give over another Drake skimmy. There's no contest. It's still blue side jungle control, and it isn't even really there. AV just scaling.
I wonder if there's a world in which they're waiting for those two crucial items. Okay, now Black Cleaver has now been completed here by Appy, so you've got not only a lot of physical damage shred, but the health percentile shred on top of that as well. Potentially we're waiting now for Violet to complete the Ginsus as well, so to hit those major 2 power item spikes to make sure that these damage dealers on their roster are going to be enough to sort of take down the tanks that Mammoth are bringing to the table. But as you say, yeah, you know, if you're going to give the soul away for free, you start to get a little bit worried.
Yeah, but they had it at 1 as well, right? So, like, the Blade of the Ruin King spike for 2 members of their team, if we're talking about can they kill tanks, I mean, they definitely can. Especially before the point where a tank champion can have multiple resistances types and, you know, multiple items in a single type of resistance. So, you have to remember that for every item that they get, and for every, perhaps, opportunity that they get closer to being able to kill tanks, that is still an Aphelios getting closer to 3 items, still a Silas who now has his Zonias as well. And Jarvan with the Stone Plate extends fights by a significant amount of time. Once again, when you think back to how this draft played out, I think that Mammoth have an easier to execute composition. So it's worth considering that AV are taking the gambit here and saying, like, you have all the balls in your court. We're just going to try and out-execute you with a harder to execute comp.
Well, the Rift Herald has to be summoned at the last possible second. Going to do a lot of true damage to that turret, but won't be enough to open up mids. Will require every member of this team to show face for the classic Oath ARAM. But after that is all said and done, the lanes will take priority once again as they wait for the next objectives to come online.
Yeah, so Herald not going to mean anything. Like you mentioned, just waiting for the next objective, 2 minutes, 20 seconds. That's probably what we're waiting for here, especially if you're Mammoth. I mean, you have no time press to look towards the Baron. Just vision control, realistically. Your opposing team is very good in a pick comp with a Sejuani, Varus, and Thresh if those 3 are working together. And particularly because the other 2 are side laning. I mean, right now you just need to play your macro out, play the whole map as best you can if you're Mammoth, and really set yourself up for success as that big objective gets nearer and nearer to being up as minions help out. Really set up for that objective.
Well, what about that, right? You know, you got the Winions on your side, the 6th member of this Mammoth squad. They're going to open up mid, as you say. 3 kills to 1, a slow game in terms of action. Definitely a refined sort of setup, really, I suppose, since the chaos that took place with the invade level 2, was it? With the 2 kills that took place to allow Liv to get himself online. Also have those 2 completed items, Merc Treads and the Zonias as well. And Stone Plate now completed here by Guncrab. So multiple members are completing items. You've got the Redemption as well here from Artek. And the Warmogs also completed here by Lisa. So you've got a lot of major power spikes. Dragon up, Soul Point being threatened here by Mammoth in just over a minute.
Yeah, that Warmogs rush is super weird to me. Warmogs is obviously a very good rush item for a tank champion. You know, Lisa being on the Sejuani at a certain point will just have the 3,000 health from those 2 items. But I do think that at a certain point the resistances may just be more valuable. You know, rushing a Stone Plate or whatever it may be instead could actually have more merit to it. Your opponents are pretty strong. You know, the damage output that they're going to have is pretty high. And the reason that a lot of the time you'll go for a Warmogs is either they're going to poke you down and you need to actually physically be standing in front of your team to take the damage so that your team can stay in these situations. So, like, if this dragon fight becomes a dance in the river or near for a long time, Lisa can effectively tank everything and outlast their opponents through just having a Warmogs. But if they catch him and he just dies because he's all health, that's a concern. So it's a delicate balance with itemization. And the Warmogs could be good, but could be really risky.
But to see exactly how it goes on out as the initiation looks to take place in mid lane. Teams looking to try and find that crucial pick to make sure that this dragon does not become a 50-50 contest. Liv will steal away the Sejuani ultimate as Lisa jumps in, looking for the jungler. Lisa going to jump on in to try and find himself some reprieve, but it's going to be a Cataclysm and lots of members in place. The box goes down to prevent the engagement potential here from Mammoth. as the shutdown takes place already onto Violet. He was such a strong member of this roster. So much CS, but it equates for nothing with that power spike we were highlighting. Appy forced to disengage away. Lisa flashes too. Double shutdown. Now a 5-0 Silas. This Drake almost guaranteed now.
Yeah, 3 dead for 0 is a fantastic trade here for Mammoth, and it's off the back of, honestly, a mistake from Baz. He's using his flag to poke people, and that is a very clear go sign for AV maybe to hook him or make the plays, but he's got his stone plate. He's pretty tanky. I know the rest of Mammoth rally around him immediately, and they make that fight almost too difficult for AV to win at all. It's now a 5-0 Silas as well. It's worth pointing out, Lived having a very good showing in this last week of the OPL so far. And now they've got Infernal Soul. Now they really are set to succeed. And pressure mounts on this map because there's one objective left standing in the Baron, and they have the Soul.
They have the Soul and more items to the name as well. Dark Seal will go up to 6 stacks as a result. And Boma will do a fantastic job of evening out the CS deficit. Down by about 40 before that play, working his way towards a completed Bloodthirster. You start to get that incredibly scary spot of 3 completed items with the Infernal Soul too. Very hard to really put out any damage to keep him, disengaged from the backline.
But yeah, we're also now hitting level 14 for Kwaku, so he's got his Forge Fire Cape done. He's starting to upgrade his team's items very soon, you would imagine, as well, with that Infinity Edge there for Mboma. And this game is getting from bad to worse very quickly for the side of AV. And it is one of those things where, it's 1,000 gold difference, but it's going to feel like a lot more momentum-wise, and it's definitely going to feel like a lot more, particularly with Kwaku upgrading items even after that point. So it almost feels like an insurmountable barrier now blocks AV.
And what do AV have left up their sleeve to try and hold this one? We talked about the power spikes with the items before, but the engage just was not desirable. Violet just absolutely shredded and taken out of the fight before we even had a chance to sort of showcase what this pick could do. And the CC that we expected to come out here, you were highlighting, the ease of execution definitely favoring Mammoth, and you saw it all come off the back of, Bass engaging and poking with the flag and drag, and still getting away with murder.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe things that shouldn't be happening and things that you'll notice in the VOD review, but it doesn't matter too much when your team is as confident as they currently are. And I do think that's the most interesting thing, right, is we can see the gold and these teams can't. And so the fact that it is only 1,000 may even be surprising to AV when they watch this game back. It doesn't feel like it's 1,000, does it? It's a 4-0 Drake advantage. It's an Infernal Soul. It's 6-1 in kills. You've got a 5-0 Silas on your team. You may even look at this if you're Mammoth and say, we're probably 5,000 gold ahead.
You'd probably think the same, absolutely. And we definitely now notice that those items are being upgraded, with the Zhonya's being the first one to get completed here, putting all the resources in to live to allow him to be as strong as humanly possible. 5-0, like we highlighted before, a lot of bounty on his head, a crucial shutdown target, but with just so much sustain and protection around him, incredibly hard to even get to him. He's got so much freedom to roam around in these team fights, just to pick what target he wants to go for and just prevent them from using, the likes of a flash or receiving any protection from the rest of the team. Baron is up, and Avant are, as it stands right now, trying to assert themselves with a bit of priority in the lane. You can see some deep vision is placed towards the top side defensively in their own jungle, hoping that Mammoth don't go for an invade, and if they do, that they are there to respond.
They've really hit the item spike timings where I think the pressure should start to actually build here. Hang on, the hook's on.
That is very, very scary right now. The Redemption's not going to do anything because he is locked in place there with the stopwatch. That's a cheeky little kill. Lisa picks that one up for free. It's a donation more than anything.
Yeah, mistiming of the Redemption there as well from Artek. Unfortunately finds himself going down, and now AV buy themselves even more time. This was just off the back of me trying to make the point that they've got 3 items apiece on their carries. If ever there was a time to start to look a little bit more aggressively, you would expect it to be right now. They've got the Molten Edge, they've got the Zhonya's Paradox, but they've lost someone, so now they lose their mid lane turret, and we still have a game on our hands, Skimmy. It's M's, not N's, right?
I mean, you can call me whatever you want at this stage, mate. We'll roll with the punches at this stage of the situation. I'm just looking right now.
Plot, one game in.
Oh, mate, you know, it's going to be a long, long day, and it's going to be a long weekend as well, but we managed to get through it last time, and we can do it again. I'm sure we've got caffeine to keep us going. 6 kills to 2.
Super week. Comes at you quick.
It does, mate. It really does. You know, you blink and you miss it, and then you realise, hey, we're only on game 4, and you're looking at the coffee machine, and you're giving it a little hug. Well, I'm interested. I'm very interested to see how Avant get themselves back into this one. If they can find that situation in which a kill can take place like before. Hook will not land this time here, as Liv has got the fancy feet in terms of that Baron pit, and they say, look, that is it. This is our golden ticket to go for the engage. We've got to start things off. We've got to bring Avant in for a team fight.
Yeah, looking for it. Of course, Aurelia now bot side is going to walk up here, maybe see if he can get there in time. He'll be spotted on vision, 6,000 health left. AV very clearly going to put up a stand here if they fight for it. We're nearing the point where it's a 50-50.
It's getting very close towards it. Violet is going to be very advantageous in being right next to that red buff to spawn to try and make this fight look good for him. Liv is going to just jump in, going to steal away that Varusol. Not going to hit anything with it, but it doesn't matter because it means the members of Avant are just too scared to engage with that one. This time Redemption finds some life and it brings the boys back up to healthy margins. Baron is now online, and they are going to look for a clean rotate with Elder spawning in 10.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, Lisa was on the other side of the pit. Lisa had the opportunity to get in there and have a crack if he wanted. Lisa threw his ultimate and then watched as the Baron was smited away anyway. Elder now going to be started the next objective on the cards here. Will Lisa attempt to contest this one? Will he get into the pit?
Second time is a charm right now. That's going to be a 3-man cataclysm. It's going to be followed up here by Quake with the on ultimate. They are just going to delete members, but not before Chaz can get himself on that score sheet. It's a triple kill for the boys. They're going to get a full 5-man ace. Baron buff means nothing. And it took us 32 minutes, Rusty, to get here. But Avant finally doing something.
Yeah, they finally find a team fight. They look to contest this time. All 5 members here, and suddenly they win it very easily in the end. Appy and Chaz still very healthy, and they'll pick up an Elder Dragon. It was Mammoth with a full force on their opponents. They didn't play Baron to get wave control. They didn't even play wave control to get Baron. Like, Mammoth had just said, this is it, we're fighting. And that's just come to bite them very quickly in the behind, as now they are the ones dealing with an Elder Dragon opponent. What is happening?
I have no idea. I feel like Mammoth were in a situation of like, we feel as if Avant are, you know, they've given up. They've not shown any sign of contesting. They're not doing anything on this map. They're looking to try and go for these objectives, but they've got their goggles on and they're just watching from afar. They go for the Elder, and Avant are like, okay, enough fun is enough fun. 30 minutes in, you've got everything. Baron, you know, Dragon Soul as well. Let's just wipe you. Let's go for a 5-man ace. Unheard of at this stage of the game.
I mean, here's a consideration for you. AV's composition is very good at standing still and dealing damage. If you're running towards them, you're kind of giving them what they want. A lot of the fights that Mammoth have won have been AV going at them. And this time around, Mammoth completely force at their opponent. You know, they flash forwards to get inside Jarvan ultimates to knock people up and things of the like. And that's actually the one fight that they lose pretty handily. So I think there's proof in the purchase there that maybe they went a little bit too hard on the aggression. And there are so many other things that they could have done that they didn't do that they'll definitely be regretting right now, Mammoth.
Well, it's an even game now, Rusty. You talk about all items being an upgrade and making themselves a 4 to 5k buffer. Well, you can look at the gold economy in the top side there. That is what we're looking at. So 60k apiece for both of these teams. Baron gone. They all died. It has been removed, but Elder is definitely online. And Avant know what this strength means for them. They're going to pick up 2 turrets, both through mid and top, exposing some inhibitors.
Yeah, and they get the first meaningful gold lead, realistically, of this game as well. We've built up to a 4,000 to 5,000 gold difference between these teams. AV now in the driver's seat, well and truly. It's not just health there for Lisa anymore, it is the resistances that are backing that one up, so he can sustain for a significant amount of time. And AV with control of this map is dangerous. Now, there is still risks there. Once again, they do prefer the 1-3-1 type of setup. There's no teleports, so they are going to have to be mostly grouped for the rest of this. And it is still a very good comp here from Mammoth in that 5v5 group situation to really watch this one. So, game's not over by any means. I think Mammoth actually still in a pretty good position, especially while no teleports are there. And opportunities still present themselves.
But I'm curious to see how Mammoth really bounce back from this one. If they look to go for those team fights again, if they look to try and hope, if Avant go in for the engagement potential, which allowed them to respond and respond in great success. I feel like Avant have almost woken up to the idea of this is how we win and this is what we need to do. And Mammoth getting punished very hard as a result of that one. Obviously, they find towers. Every inhibitor is exposed right now if they were to push that one in. They've been flirting with danger for the most part. Liv is going to use the ultimate to disengage away. All the members now taking place through mid. They want to break open the base. They want to look for one of those crucial team fights.
They definitely do. Now, one Morgana binding, one Thresh hook, something of that like can actually make the fight erupt out of nowhere. So that's what we're really waiting for at the moment, is how is his vision going to be played out? Where are these teams assigning themselves? A little while till objectives spawn, but AV in the correct quadrant of the map. Want to pressure Mammoth if they ever want to get near the Baron. Place vision near it, but they need to keep their mid priority in check if they want to control this area. There's still some risks at play here.
And Boma is going to find himself an item above as he starts to work towards some armor pen, making sure that he can take down the likes of Lisa and Appy, who are definitely getting scarier by the second now. GA completed on Irelia. You got the Bramble Vest with the Stone Plate as well, so you amplify that Warmog's tenfold. Can be very strong, very hard to punish if Lisa finds a non-desirable team fight. But it looks like there is going to be a bit of a lull in the action as they are waiting for that crucial team fight objective to go towards. Looking more towards just clearing lanes, getting gold, and making sure they have as much power and gold in their arsenal for that subsequent team fight.
And this is not the way you want to be starting off your last week of the OPL split if you're AV. 3 games to play, trying to fight for that last spot in the playoffs. And they're at the risk of losing to Mammoth, the team below them, the only team below them in what's meant to be the easiest game of their last 3. So they definitely need to step up to the plate here and try and win a team fight, get themselves a victory as best they can. It wouldn't be the cleanest if they get it, but they still need it desperately.
They desperately do. And I think at this stage, if they do get the victory, they'll definitely take it one, but it won't be a clean game by any stretch of the imagination. But no assumptions to be made just yet. Baron has now spawned. Elder is up in a minute, and vision is crucial. Lived! Well, he does live in that situation there. The ward would have spotted him out, and Gungrab unable to land the hook, but they are looking, they are fishing, really, at this stage of the game for those crucial one-man picks.
Yeah, they've been starved out of vision here as well, Mammoth, which is why they're grouping up. Liv playing with fire, very dangerously positioned just to the side of mid lane. He thinks he's protecting his team, but he's the one at risk. AV, with outright control, have started this Baron, and it might just go down.
They have. Gungrab's going to open up with the ultimate to prevent people running on in. Liv is just going to walk in into chest and just deletes him. A shutdown comes online as Liv looks for the 1v2 situation, drawing so many members across. Gungrab not going to land the hook. Violet does take him down eventually, but the Baron is down to 1400 health, and there's going to be a smite steal that can come across without Lisa being able there to respond, and Boma's going to pick that one up for free. 2 members surviving here from Avant. Lived, the hybrid tank, running in, drawing so much aggro, and much like an ad blocker, disabling everything.
Yeah, and now they have choices, Mammoth. They could do the Elder Dragon after Inhib, or they could just push to end. I think they will just try and push for the finish here. They've got enough tanky members, they've got enough damage to stand in front of all of this. And it's just Violet in regards to damage. So I think Mammoth may have been able to do that here. They'll definitely give it a go. And we'll see what Violet can do. No summoners.
First inhibitor falls on down as they work themselves towards those Nexus turrets. Bash jumps in, no Cataclysm, but incredibly tanky. The first one falling on down. Now they're going to look to try and find another kill to try and make themselves a very easy situation to end this game. It's a double kill. The respawns come on out, but that Nexus is falling too quick, too far. Mammoth will find a victory to upset the run for Avant.
Yeah, Mammoth will be able to get themselves a victory. Start off nicely in the 10th week of the split for them. For AV, it's a devastating start. And it was early in the game as well where these things started to go awry very quickly. The early trade in mid lane is the first thing you have to look at, right?
Yep.
And Mammoth, they get momentum. With that momentum that they start to get, the game is a lot easier to control from then on out. And that's one of the best things that you can look for as one of the lower placed teams in the league, is that strong start to then build on the fundamentals.
I'm sure for Avant, it's very frustrating the fact that they have so many, strong CS advantages in those lanes that they were able to keep up in this in the overall gold economy, despite losing structures, despite losing all these objectives. But to wait till 30 minutes in to find a fight, to sort of understand what your win conditions are, felt very, very worrying, given that, Avant need all the victories they can to try and contest the likes of Gravitas and Pentanet.
Yeah, and it felt like one of those drafts where they wanted to try and get at least something early, like at least some kind of win condition, maybe a side lane having pressure, maybe the 3 in mid lane for a 1-3-1 comp having that pressure there, and they just instead gave 4 Drakes over, gave the Infernal Soul over, and they chose to take the fight, you would have to say, just a little bit too late. And, once again, Mammoth having a very easy to execute composition, just pick the battle at the very end near Baron, where their comp shines the most in terms of positioning, and they're able to win the game from it.
Well, Mammoth caused an upset to start Super Week number 2 off. We're going to jump to a quick break, and when we return, it is game number 2.